Home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Thanks for choosing us. Well, this afternoon, the minority in Parliament has called on President John Dramani Mahama and the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, to, as a matter of urgency, make a public statement on the concerns raised by the suspended Chief Justice, Gertrude Torkornoo. The Chief Justice on Wednesday made her first public address on the ongoing investigations into 3 petitions calling for a dismissal. She raised concerns ranging from the breach of procedures, violation of her human rights, and a grand conspiracy to remove her from office without just cause. Let's listen to her.
Every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country. And this is why I find the need to draw the nation's attention to the serious violations of the Constitution and law in the process, and the danger it holds for the development of the nation's democracy.
While reacting to the development at a press conference in Parliament, Member of Parliament for Asokwa, Nanaije Bafoewa, raised concerns over the silence of the President and the Attorney General 48 hours after a no-holds-barred press conference by the suspended Chief Justice, insisting the two must address the CJ's concerns.
The devil will have his day on the day of judgment. No matter what we think of the Chief Justice, it is for situations like this that the 1992 Constitution was promulgated. It was to prevent abuses of this nature. Clearly, it is an unfortunate situation that the very head of our justice administration is having to go through this. I do not care about the guilt or innocence of her. What is important is that she should have at her disposal everything necessary to defend herself. She has to have it. And in the absence of it, I think that the whole process has been undermined. In the absence of it, the process lacks integrity. That for me is key. And I think that the Attorney General should be speaking to these matters. I think that the President, very respectfully, who has taken an oath to defend and protect the Constitution of this country, including the fundamental human rights, should be worried and should be concerned that under the guise of the secrecy of the process, the Chief Justice is having to go through this. It is an unfortunate situation, and I think that the whole nation should be concerned. I think the other issues that she raised, in my humble opinion, as important as they may be, they are not as primary as the issue of the notice of the prima facie determination. There is a historical antecedent to this. You all know that in time past, when the prima facie determination has been made, presidents have made all of us know, right, the basis for which they arrived that there was no prima facie case. In complaints or petitions that were made against Justice Enini Abua, complaints or petitions that were made against Justice Georgina Wood, in complaints or petitions that were made against Justice Sophia Kufu. Even when there had been a determination that there was no prima facie case, there had been a detailed opinion from the President as to why he thinks that there is no prima facie determination. If for nothing, we should be guided by that precedent. If for nothing, we should be guided by that precedent. And in law, there's an obligation to give a reason for a position. At the very least, if the President says that he's not ready to provide a reason for that decision, right, it is important. It's the fundamental human right. It's a basic right of the Chief Justice for her to know the case or the parts of the complaint which the President considers that she has a case to answer. That is a basic principle of law.
Well, join me now to broaden the conversation here on The Pulse. It's Kwekwan Sasari. He is former director for the Ghana School of Law. I appreciate your time here on The Pulse. We've just been hearing from the minority push that the Attorney General and the President should respond to the key concerns raised by the Chief Justice. But the process in itself for removal is a legal process. Will their interference not be in breach of the Constitution? Educate us.
So, the President and the Attorney General have no constitutional obligation to respond to matters that will be outside of the constitutional framework. Nowhere in Article 146 is there a place, for such exchanges. Once the President has set up a committee and the committee is working, the President has nothing to do, until the committee has submitted its work. The Attorney General acts, upon the directives or instructions of the President. And here, the President must respect and abide, by the constitutional arrangement regarding the CJ removal process in pursuance of Article 146. What I see here is that there is a leadership crisis in the MPP. Since the death of Darocha, Peter Lajete, Oversight, and Haruna Eteku, the MPP have been without an able leader. The party seems to be in complete disarray, and therefore the minority trying to make ugly noises here and there to create an impression that the MPP is still a viable party and a force to reckon with. But in so doing, they are tearing themselves apart and doing things that are unconstitutional. I've had occasion to point out that during the tenure of the presidency of former President Nanado, he bastardized the judiciary. And what the minority is seeking to do is to attempt to repair a damage that was left by their former leader. That whatever they do, they should remember that the Constitution expects respect and unalloyed obeisance. That is, what the law says. The law says that, the rule of law requires careful tending. They must tend the constitutional arrangement regarding the CJ removal process, by virtue of what the framers put in Article 146. All of us should respect it. The President should not respond. Should the President respond, he will be violating, the oath, the presidential oath that, he subscribed and pledged before the people of Ghana, that he will always defend and uphold the Constitution. The Attorney General, has no constitutional support in responding to something that, should not, be heeded. Both should respect the constitutional arrangements. As far as I'm concerned, the demand by the minority is like an erring child, who needs parental attention. If they have no father, they should go back, to the party office, go back to the boardroom and see where they have faulted and repair the damage internally, rather than seeking to plunge the whole nation into some constitutional mess. That shouldn't be. And you shouldn't lend your support at all to giving them audience in the media. Not at all.
But is it not a legitimate call for the AG and the President to respond to some of these key concerns, especially because she has raised concerns that the committee set up to look into her petitions have not even furnished her with the documents? So she's sailing blind, really. Let's go back to the Constitution. Is that standard procedure?
The Constitution has spelled out clearly the constitutional pathway with regard to the CJ removal process under Article 146. The leadership was not obliged, to respond if she had not been furnished with a copy. But the fact that her leadership has appeared before the committee, grounded in the response to the president and what was fed the Council of State, means that she has been supplied with whatever, she needed to be supplied before, she made her first appearance. It is too late in the day for her to somersault and tell the whole nation that, she's there to be supplied. I don't buy that. Secondly, nowhere in Article 146 is there a room for what, the CJ is now demanding. Absolutely, non-existent. Number 3, the Constitution does not admit of extra judicial rantings of the nature that is going on currently. Things like a political football field. What is happening is that once Article 146 is triggered and the committee commences its proceedings, it's like a court. So you don't appear before a judge, go back, to the general public and complain to the public, general public that, the judge is not, hearing your side. If you have to, the rule is that if that is the case, you wait. And then, at the end of the judicial exercise, you may apply for judicial review and have, the proceedings quashed, or you may go on appeal or both. But you cannot complain, that publicly that you are being given a raw deal, and then next time you go back, to the court. So what the minority and the CJ are doing is unconstitutional. It's a trap. It's a trap which the president and the attorney general must ensure they don't fall in. Because should the president respond, he will be in contravention of the Constitution, and he would have broken the oath of fidelity that he subscribed to in upholding the rule of law, which is the cornerstone of his administration. The attorney general must be mindful of his responsibilities in accordance with Article 88, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution. You go back and look at Article 88, 1 and 2, and you will see that his fidelity is to the Constitution. Indeed, in throwing out the CJ's bid injunction application, Tanko Amadou, JSC, in concluding his judicial sayings in that case, said that he owes allegiance to the Constitution and only to the Constitution and the Constitution only, and that he was going to abide by the oath he subscribed to the general public on the day, he swore, before the president that his fidelity to the Constitution will be absolute, regardless of, any, whoever's case is before the Supreme. I think that is the way to go. The minority should remember that this mess was caused by the MPP, and they will not listen, to, the general public. They didn't have a listening ear. If they had had a listening ear, they would have, withdrawn the nomination of Gertrude Tokonu when, some of us said that, she was being taken out of 10 and it was going to create problems for her, problems for the nation. And today, all of us are being, thrown into this unnecessary, political game. You and I had no hand, in what another did, but today we have, to be responding, to what the minority, they made their bed, they must lie in it.
Okay. Can the Chief Justice be held in contempt of the whole process, knowing fully well that the law allows that this whole process be shrouded in secrecy?
I don't think so. I have always said that once a court makes a pronouncement, there's nothing like being in contempt. It is part of the protection accorded, the citizenry in Article 21, freedom of speech. But if the case is sub judice, then, but if once the case is, pending, but a ruling has been made, you can comment on the ruling because it has been made, and the judge, the judge is functions official, and if that is, our understanding, the leadership, is free, to express itself on what are, the rulings that have been made, but not in contemplation or anticipation of a future ruling. So we should draw a distinction between rulings that have been made and rulings that are yet to be made. Once the ruling has been made or a judgment given, the court, have finished its judicial function, and the general public are, encouraged even to comment. This is how democracy goes. This is how the judiciary gets strengthened, because the judiciary is the last bastion and hope of the citizenry. And therefore, in accordance with Article 125, 1 and 2, the citizens must be allowed, to participate in the law-making and judicial-making processes. That is how, we develop, grow, and strengthen our legal institutions. So I don't think that he will be in contempt. He is not in contempt.
Now, they say the wheel of justice grinds slowly, but in our part of the world, it appears to be slower. We're hearing from someone who heads Ghana's judicial system, telling us that she's being treated wrongly. What is the fate of our judicial system in the light of some of these things that have come up?
Well, I'm happy that, no other person than the Chief Justice of the Republic has publicly acknowledged that we have a broken judicial system, on our hands. I'm very, very happy, that this has, been acknowledged publicly. And therefore, the criticisms of the judiciary, the allegations of corruption, the fact that, the executive and, some judges are always in bed, it's no longer a perception, but a reality. If it is real, then this is the time. So, Chief Justice Tokonu, has given us hope that after this wake-up call, something will be done, to fix the broken system. The judiciary, thinks at the moment, and if nothing is done, it will continue to think, even from a distance, and that is not, in our best interest.
But from where you sit, what can really be done to break the broken system?
Well, I think the general citizens, in fact, the whole state, all of us must, search our individual consciences. We need some introspection, 100% introspection, to find, what has gone wrong. You see, the giver and the taker, the, governance aspect, the administrator, the media. So we have now 4 estates. We have the legislature, the judiciary, the executive, and the press. Now, these 4 have failed, the nation. And the ones, the 4 branches or arms of government have failed the nation. The general citizenry, comes to be at their beck and call. And therefore, when they realize that all is not going well, then they join them. So if you can't, beat them, join them. So unless, we change our attitude. So what we must do now is to overhaul, our attitude. We need attitudinal change. We need to understand that when it comes, to our institutions of governance, our cultural, perspectives in making certain demands should be, relegated completely to the background and allow the system to work. So you are frustrated. The Chief Justice is not frustrated. And, all that she's doing now, come out, of a Chief Justice who is frustrated. So today she says this, tomorrow she says that. It shows that even the Chief Justice is at the receiving end, of the broken system. And she, as I said yesterday, has supervised this for nearly 3 years. Is she now complaining? When was this the first time that she realized that the system of delivering justice in Ghana is broken, Amadite? So let us now, wake up from our slumber and, as it were, as a people, collectively, take some surgery, carry out, the surgical operation of the judicial system. Not only the judicial system, the political system, the legislative system, the press system. All these things, need to be refixed. And we cannot, we cannot isolate one. Once you isolate the judiciary, you've left, the others hanging, and the problem will not stop. Let us change our attitude and accept, reality. Don't let us say that, oh, this one is a perception. And when you become affected, you play. You should, constantly stand guard, over our governance. The governance institutions are suffering, from lack of resources. They are, suffering from transparency. People get appointed not because, they are qualified, but because they know somebody somewhere, and the Constitutional Review Commission or Committee must ensure that Article 69 is losing. Article 69 is causing all these problems.
Okay.
The president has, too much power. The president appoints the conservancy laborer. That is, what is worrying us today. So if Article 69 is, modified such that, the too much power given to the president is kept, we take some back, and then, we fix our, appointing systems, like the CJ must be appointed by a system that is totally isolated from the presidency. You see that, we begin to make some, move.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Former Director for the Ghana School of Law, join us here on The Pulse. Now, away from that, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is calling for a complete overhaul of political party financing regulations, citing conflicts of interest in the current system. OSP's Director of Strategy, Research and Communications, Sami Darko, says the Electoral Commission's dual role, conducting elections and regulating party finances, is problematic. The OSP is therefore proposing the establishment of an independent committee separate from the Commission to oversee party finances. It recommends the inclusion of representatives from the Audit Service, Judiciary, and OSP, with a judge potentially chairing the body to help curb illicit campaign financing.
There are a few things that we may want to comment or bring about. The first one, it has to do with regulation of our financing, political party financing. We are of the opinion that the current system where the Electoral Commission is both a referee and a regulator must be abandoned. Ghana should explore the establishment of an independent political party finance audit committee, similar to that of Norway. So this committee would perform functions separately from the organization of the election, and we think that the body should consist of representatives from the Audit Service, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and say the Judiciary. And this committee can be headed by a judge. And this committee will leverage on existing expertise, infrastructure, and operate within a dedicated budget so that you are not creating a new office. So it's more of a committee that will be tasked with the job of reviewing annual financial reports submitted by political parties, ensuring compliance with Ghana's Political Parties Act, and then imposing sanctions for violations, and refers irregularities for criminal investigations as well as prosecution. But really, we also think that there is a cultural problem. Can you imagine if the Electoral Commission, in the performance of its regulatory work, decides to ban one of our two main dominant parties, NPP or NDC, ahead of the 2028 presidential elections? There was going to be chaos. So we also need to check our cultural difficulty with enforcement of such laws. Then our second recommendation has also been said. We think that the annual reports of the political parties should be published online for public scrutiny, thereby promoting transparency and accountability. We also agree with the presentation we just watched that we must amend the Political Parties Act for it to cover the spending and expenditure of presidential and parliamentary candidates. And we dare to say that there ought to be a way, when it's amended, that typically we get to know that monies are sent to these presidential and parliamentary candidates. The monies are sent physically. They go for it physically. It's not like many of them passes through a bank where you can track and follow the money. So we were thinking that, is it possible that we could have somewhere within our architecture where any donation will require that a tax is paid on, similar to like a gift?
Well, but what is the views of the political parties themselves regarding this proposal? Well, thankfully, I have on Zoom the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Haruna Mohammed. Also on Zoom is spokesperson for CPP, Kwame Butchio. We appreciate your time here on the polls. I just want to get your thoughts. I'm just going through some of the key proposals that the OSP is making. Now, when it comes to Electoral Commission and the role they play, they argue that it is facing a conflict of interest by regulating party finances and organizing elections. From where you sit, is that the case?
First, or
I'll start with Haruna and come to you, Kwame.
Okay, can you just summarize your question for me?
Okay, we've just been hearing from the OSP, and the OSP is arguing that the Electoral Commission faces a conflict of interest because they are tasked with regulating party finances and also organizing election. From where you sit as a political party, the NPP, is that the case?
I don't think it's the case.
Okay.
I was in the same meeting with the rep of the special prosecutor when he made that statement. I don't see the conflict of interest in here with regards to the Electoral Commission's role as the regulator. If you ask yourself, what exactly does the Electoral Commission do relative to political financing? The Electoral Commission has not been given any mandate per the Constitution or the Political Parties Act, Act 574, to mobilize funding for political parties. Political parties financing has been a very biggest debate for us in Ghana. And some of us had the point to argue that the Political Parties Act has outlived its usefulness. And for the OSP to call for the amendment of the Political Parties Act, I agree. But with the direction that the OSP says that there should be a body and they should be decoupled from the Electoral Commission's work, I don't know which particular regulation he's talking about, because the Electoral Commission's regulation in terms of financing is not about how political parties raise money. It's not about how political parties generate money. It's not about the financing of the political parties, but it's about the statement, the financial statement. It is part of the criteria of which political parties must submit and approved by the Electoral Commission. They submit financial statements. The Electoral Commission does not prepare the financial statements for them. The whole argument that was made by Transparency International and CDD the conversation, clearly does not sit with the direction in which the special prosecutor is making. If we have to regulate political parties in terms of how they get their money, then we should be able to regulate that in the perspective of national constitution. And when it comes to regulation, we want to regulate how they get the money, how they spend, where from where, who gives what and what. That is not the work of the Electoral Commission. So it is not already being exercised by the Electoral Commission, but it is something that is not being regulated. If you go to the Political Parties Act, Regulation 23 and Regulation 24, Regulation 23 in the Political Parties Act only says, and I read, only a citizen may contribute in cash or kind to the funds of a political party. A firm, partnership, or enterprise owned by a citizen or a company registered under the laws of the Republic, at least 27% of whose capital is owned by a citizen, is for the purpose of this act as a citizen. So this is what the regulation is talking. And if you read 24, it tells you that a non-citizen shall not directly or indirectly make a contribution or donation. These are the only two provisions in the Political Parties Act that is talking about finance. So if we have to talk about political party financing, we have to regulate it either by an act of parliament or by a constitutional amendment to get this situated very well and get bodies. But I don't agree with the fact that if we have to do so, we have to put the special prosecutor to be part of it. The mandate of the special prosecutor is being described clearly in the act that establishes the office of the special prosecutor. So we should not be seen to be arrogant and creating other nominations that will impede the progress of fighting or making institutions to work on their own. So for me, I support the amendment. I made my argument there as a person because I also made a proposal there as a person. And I know in due course, this will come for discussion.
And I'm quite interested in your proposal you made there as a person.
Yes, I made a proposal that based on the two provisions that we have mentioned, all the arguments that have been going on with regards to political party financing, if we all agree today, nations cannot sponsor political parties entirely. People are of the view that, let's say, if the state of Ghana is going to allocate $1 million for each political party to finance it, because the statistics that has been shown is that a presidential candidate needs $100 million to be able to run a campaign based on the findings that came up at the forum. So if a political party needs that, and the state of Ghana is going to provide that to political parties, I will take up the opportunity to create a political party and then take this particular money and I will use it as a business. So people will create political parties and for that particular purpose. I am of the view that with all the structures available to us, why not we amend the Political Parties Act and allow political parties to do legitimate business? Let them do legitimate business. Let's see a political party having a block factory. Let's see a political party having a farm. Let's see a political party doing a legitimate business as prescribed by the company's code. So political parties will be able to have influence. Political parties will be able to have earnings. This will be audited per the laws of Ghana. And these audited accounts will be a true representation when they are submitting to Electoral Commission, rather than the current form of bit by bit people are donating and they are not being recorded. All these things are matters that we need to consider, so that political parties can even call presidents or their government when they are in power. When the government or political party is in power, it doesn't necessarily mean that the national chairman rules the country. The president clearly is different from the national chairman. So if the national chairman and his other colleagues in the party is able to have their own funding, they can call the sitting president even if he's coming from their party. And that is why in South Africa, ANC is able to make rules. If you check MTN is a product of ANC. MTN, look at the kind of money that they are making. So if political parties are given that role legally to conduct businesses, then people will be able to run businesses viable, to be able to fund their political parties, and take away that particular instance of when government wins and the government wants to turn around and control the party. The parties can always stand on their own and make sure that they are able to be funded. So for me, I am for amendment and then making sure political parties, they should be allowed to do legal business.
Haruna, stay with me. Let me bring in Mr. Kwame just to get his thoughts. As a political party, the CPP, do you actually feel that indeed there ought to be an independent body that will regulate the activities of political parties with regards to political parties' finances?
First of all, I would say that the CPP supports any move that will curb corruption and also ensure transparency in the activities of political parties. Because it is a fact that political activity in Ghana has become heavily monetized. The kind of money that the political parties spend on campaigns, it is claimed that they are from party supporters, but it's of such astronomical amounts that you can fairly make an inference that there could be some corruption involved or even foreign financing. Of course, the CPP does not engage in any of those things. However, the Political Parties Act, Section 14 and Section 21, gives the Electoral Commission the mandate to call for the accounts of the political parties. And it has a number of requirements that the political parties have to provide. And if you look at Section 3 of the OSP Act 2, they are mandated to investigate suspected acts of corruption. So even though it is a fresh statement that has been made by the OSP, that has been made by Mr. Sami Dako, the party hasn't sat down yet. It's so fresh in order to take a position. But I would say that from the culture and tradition of the CPP, we support anything that will curb corruption. And we also support anything that will strengthen our laws as we have it. In reading the Political Parties Act together with the OSP Act, it is evident that the OSP can call for the accounts submitted by the political parties and interrogate them further if they feel there's something untoward. So I do not see any conflict there. And it is a good call by Mr. Sami Dako because the CPP has made that call over and over again because the amounts of money flying around also puts the smaller parties at a disadvantage because a reasonable suspicion can be made that some of those amounts are made by probably past political parties. I'm not accusing anybody, but I make a reasonable suspicion that some were made whilst the parties were in government and they are using it for political activities. So the OSP calling for the accounts and investigating it and being able to locate a paper trail will lead to curbing corruption. We in the CPP, we have a policy of paying every single penny, even if it's coins, everything is paid into a party account. So there's a paper trail. And I agree with Mr. Sami Dako that in other places, he did not mention any parties, but it is possible that some may not may receive these amounts in cash and may not pay it into their accounts. But I suppose that there are ways to trace all these things. If you look at a political party's account and it has maybe only 10 million Ghana cedis in it, and yet they conduct an election to the tune of 100 million Ghana cedis, and a reasonable inference can be made that there was 90 million cedis that wasn't accounted for. The OSP has to go after them, and I suppose they should go after them and then find out where they got that 90 million for. But there's no need for them being part of the auditors because a prosecuting authority cannot audit. It will be as if they are fishing for evidence. No, you have to. You look around. When you find anything suspicious, you go for it. But you don't go fishing for evidence. I don't think that is the right approach.
Now, the OSP argues that the Electoral Commission faces a conflict of interest by both regulating party finances and organizing elections. As a party, I know you may not have deliberated on this to form a position yet, but do you agree that this dual role compromises transparency and fairness?
The dual role may arise. Of course, you can say that there can be a perception of influence by an electoral commission if they were appointed by a certain ruling party, if that party causes some infractions. And I think Mr. Ansasari before also spoke of, or someone mentioned, I forgot who, I think it was Mr. Ansasari, about how the two main political parties, it could be about a lot person, if they were to cause any infraction at the EC. Yes, I think it was Sami Dako himself that it would be unimaginable for the EC to take them on. So I understand why he feels there's a need for an independent body to look into this. But we can see that so far, the OSP has been quite neutral in its approach ever since the appointment during His Excellency Ronaldo Danko Akufo-Addo's era. So I suppose that I do not see where the conflict of interest arises. However, I can understand where he is coming from if the appointing authority causes some infractions. But even if the appointing authority causes some infractions, nothing stops the OSP for calling for those accounts and looking into them in order to see if there have been any breaches of the law.
As a smaller party, what would be your proposal moving forward and how best we can deal with illicit financial flows through the political parties?
I think it's just employing basic accounting principles. You call for the bank statements of the various political parties, which we are mandated to submit to the Electoral Commission together with our statements of accounts. And then you look at the kind of campaign conducted by those political parties, weigh the two together. And then by all means, you will see that what was spent in terms of billboards and vehicles and adverts and all that, it far exceeds what was passed through the accounts for the year in question or even previous years. It's just like taking an individual who earns maybe 5,000 Ghana cedis a month and maybe is driving a Bentley. You may and you know he has no other source of income. You may have a reasonable suspicion that there could be something untoward somewhere. So they have the right under Section 3 of the OSP Act. That's where they suspect corruption. I mean, where they reasonably suspect. It doesn't have to be a prima facie case. Just weighing the income you've stated in your weighing the bank account you have submitted against the assets you have. If there's a huge difference or even a marginal difference, then you have something to answer for. You have to explain where you got those funds. Because, of course, if funds are illicit and they're coming from foreign countries, for example, if a foreign country gives you, maybe an European country or something gives you $5 million in order for you to speak on their behalf, they're not going to put it in your account because you have to explain where you got that $5 million from. So if they look at that, then they can take the political parties on to explain where they got every penny. That is a starting point, and that is what is done when it comes to investigating politically exposed persons and even ordinary citizens when it comes to corruption. So as my brother, the Deputy General Secretary of NPP said, we have all these things in our law already. We don't need to create more laws. We don't need to create more committees. We don't need to create more bodies. We just have to put our laws to use because we have too many laws that overlap each other and some that have gone dormant because we don't use them. So the solution is there already.
Haruna, I'll be coming to you because I've heard your personal views, but then I want to find out, as a political party, do you support the formation of an independent body separate from the Electoral Commission that would oversee campaign financing and financial records, to be specific? I'll come to you for that reaction. But let me bring in Edem Senanu, an anti-corruption campaigner. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. I just want to get your brief thoughts. The OSP is proposing the formation of an independent body separate from the Electoral Commission that would oversee the financial records of political parties. Is that the best way to deal with illicit financial flows?
I would definitely align with the OSP's position on this matter because there is clearly too much work already for the Electoral Commission to be doing. I haven't seen much attention to the aspect that look at political party financing and giving us an update on whether the parties have filed their financial reports, whether there's any evidence that there's been any unscrupulous, activities. And we clearly have to be cautious because you can end up with state capture where some people using criminal funds, etc., may be taking advantage and, holding parties to ransom and therefore the leadership that is put in place after an election. So to me, an independent group that will more incisively look at the documentation, follow the money trail, keep us updated, and guard that space would be necessary.
As a political party, I want you to speak for the NPP as an executive now. Would you support the formation of that independent body separate from the Electoral Commission to oversee political party financing?
You form a body to fill a gap. What gap is there to fill that you are forming it?
Okay.
The power of the Electoral Commission is driven from the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. The function of the Electoral Commission does not incorporate in fighting corruption, but regulating free, fair elections. So if we are talking about issues of corruption, the special prosecutor is clearly mandated enough to fight corruption in Ghana. So there is no need to have a regulation where we will put together those particular bodies to regulate. Look, the court is there to make sure that the legal terms abide by. If he thinks that there is something untoward the political parties have done, clearly the political parties money for a foreign country to run the law of the political party, that is Section 24, clearly it says that the special prosecutor can go in to investigate why it is so. So I don't know the kind of regulatory body that he needs. What we are all saying is that the political parties must be empowered. The political parties must be funded. However, the funding of the political parties does not lie in the power of the Electoral Commission. So if we are talking about issues of corruption and financing of political parties, and corruption issues come, the corruption is not about the Electoral Commission. The corruption is about the individual. And we have also found that in the law has not made provision for candidates, i.e. parliamentary candidates and presidential candidates in the election. So the political parties are silent on that. So what we ought to do is to amend and refine the Political Parties Act, but not to create another nomenclature that will bring a burden to the people of Ghana. So clearly, for me, from where I stand, without further consultation or having an official position of the party, I, as a person, I am saying that we need a refined amendment, but not another regulation.
I appreciate your time, Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. I'll just finalize with you, Edem Senanu. We've just been hearing from Haruna saying that we do not actually need a new body to regulate campaign financing. All we need to do is amend the existing act. Your thoughts?
I think that, usually one wants to learn from best practice regimes, and if there are places where things have improved and are more effective, you want to take it from there. I am told that Mr. Sami Darkwin making this presentation was referring to the Norwegian system, which has been established as a much more effective way, rather than having an electoral commission that is both the referee for the election and then an auditor of the political party, to separate the auditing aspect from the electoral part of it. and has been proven a better way of ensuring accountability in terms of political party financing. So this is not a suggestion that is just born out of trying to, as it were, tinker with the current architecture, but it is based on reflecting on best practice regimes and making a proposal that can we become much more effective. I think it is something that we should seriously consider.
I appreciate your time here on The Pulse. Edem Senano, an anti-corruption campaigner. You're still watching The Pulse. We'll be back after this quick turn with more. Please stay tuned in. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. To other stories now, the Women's Caucus in Parliament is calling for the full implementation of the affirmative action law passed in July 2024 after years of advocacy for fair female representation in leadership. However, a year later, neither the previous nor current government has outlined a clear roadmap for its rollout. During a courtesy call on the Vice President at the Jubilee House, Deputy Minority Leader Patricia P.J. urged Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman to lead efforts to ensure the law is effectively implemented.
It was only last year, July, that we passed the affirmative action law. The law is now in place. If we are here, we can't just overlook it, but rather draw your attention to the fact that the implementation of the law is very crucial. And it is important that as your role as a mother of this house, we are all your children, and we are going to support you to ensure that you deliver. Your delivery as a vice president will be one that is exceptional.
Well, Vice President Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman also urged the MPs to use their positions to collectively influence other women to the top.
And for me, the important point is, so now that we are here, what are we doing with the opportunity? It cannot just be for us. As the good book says, not unto us. So it cannot be unto us as individuals. It can be unto us as how we use that opportunity to bring others up. And in our demographic, talking about others, we can focus on the young ladies. There are enough in our constituencies that we can build up. But at the same time, we're also looking at the young children, boys and girls.
To other stories now, the Ahafo Regional Director of Education has urged the government and contractors to incorporate changing rooms and gender-friendly facilities into classroom block designs to ensure girls feel comfortable at school during menstruation. He made the call in Gwaso at the Ahafo Regional launch of the 2025 World Menstrual Hygiene Day, organized by the Regional Coordinating Council and Net-Centric Campaigns. Emmanuel Edujemfi reports.
Kids will not come to school, they will absent themselves from school. In an occasion where there's no a facility that is friendly for gender-friendly facility, that one also becomes a challenge. Now we put across that there should be facility that can help them. We have some of the WASH programs and projects in town, but there are going to be more. So we are pleading that other NGOs and other development partners can also support what the government is doing for their kids to have this.
He has also been highlighting the role of the education service in ensuring proper menstrual hygiene management among girls in the Ahafo region.
Police, and also we have told them that they shouldn't be feeling shy. They should come out boldly and participate in school activities. So normally they feel shy and they hide somewhere. And also we have been able to counsel them and also even speak to the boys and other people, the community and the radio station, the churches and stuff, where people will appreciate the fact that they're also going through a normal menstrual cycle, which is part of life as children. For this program comes to support these children to be able to organize themselves well and be part of academic exercise.
Bismarck Chere Asante, the Watch Desk Officer for Executive North District Assembly, says the initiative will complement area gains in hygiene practice in the Ahafo region.
It started from Executive North, and has associated with you now as a discipline officer in Josephine North, looking at the previous experiences that we have had so far and then what has actually happened here today, I would say that the success stories that we shared in Josephine has really had a positive effect on the other districts. In terms of menstrual hygiene, most of the times when we are talking about wash, we talk so much about water and probably some few sanitation issues. But hygiene is also very important in terms of water. And I'm not surprised that the Honorable Regional Minister is also into that.
The Ahafo Regional Minister, Charity Gardner, who launched the program, noted that the move is to sustain the gains of her quest to promote proper menstrual hygiene practice before her political appointment.
The original coordinating council for discussing the central campaigns, it's needed if a centric for other Roma, and I hear say, come on. The first program I'm here was
this one I will use for carrying my books to go to school. This I will write exercise and notes. I thank her for giving me this item. Thank you.
By the nature, I'm from the Canon of Municipal. And I thank Honorable Charity Gardner for giving this item to us. We use it very, and some of our colleagues don't even have the sanitary pads.
From Goso in the Ahafo region for Joy News, Emmanuel Edujenfi.
Away from that, a controversial video showing two foreign men, allegedly a gay couple, sharing intimate moments at the iconic Black Star Square and Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum has sparked nationwide outrage. The footage, which appears to depict a symbolic wedding ceremony with the Ghanaian flag prominently displayed and Kwame Nkrumah's statue in view, has drawn widespread condemnation. Old Tafo MP Vincent Ekwasifwa is among the outspoken critics, formally petitioning the President John Dramani Mahama to publicly condemn the act and reaffirm Ghana's cultural values. Here are excerpts of that petition coming up on your screen shortly. And it reads that I have just returned to Accra from Ho in the Volta region, where I attended the climax of our successful Girls in ICT program. I have seen numerous tags and posts about the abhorrent disrespect of our culture and values by two, quote, he says, useless individuals. The disrespect of our national symbols is despicable, to say the least. However, I am shocked to see apologists from the NPP calling on me and demanding action. What a shameless lot we are, where we are today without a strict legislation of these ills, because former was Sam George's response. But then let me bring you what I had promised you, which is Vincent's actual statement. And it goes on to state that with a heavy heart and deep concern, I write to you not just as a citizen of Ghana, but as someone deeply troubled by a disturbing development that has caused immense pain to many Ghanaians across the country. In recent days, images have circulated showing two homosexual individuals taking deliberate photographs at the Independence Square and the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum sites that represents not only our freedom, but our national pride and the sacrifices of our forefathers. These spaces are sacred, he says, and they are not to be turned into platforms for promoting acts that are fundamentally alien to our cultural, moral, and religious values. This is not just a social issue. It is a moral affront and a spiritual insult to the conscience of our nation. I speak with grief because what happened is not just a photo opportunity. It is symbolic of a creeping agenda to normalize what the overwhelming majority of Ghanaians respect and reject, I beg your pardon, as immoral. Worse still, it took place at the Independence Square, the very ground that marks the divine, and the statement goes on to state, the divine hand of God in granting us freedom as a people. That ground has now been defiled. Your Excellency, you gave your word to the Christian Council, the Catholic Bishop Conference, and to all who care deeply about our nation's moral future. Your promise that if elected, you would sign into law the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values bill. Many of us took comfort in that promise, but promises must now give way to bold action. Member of Parliament for Old Tafo Vincent Ekwasefa, who has petitioned the President on this matter, spoke on Joy News today.
The President is passionate about this country, as I am. And so the petition was sent yesterday early in the morning. And so I am hoping that based on his words and his commitment, as far as His Excellency the President is concerned, I hope that I will hear from him very, very soon. I do not need to hear from him by way of a letter to me or whatsoever. I only want to hear him condemn the situation. I only want to see him show that amount of commitment that he showed the people of Ghana before he assumed the reins of government in January. And that's all that I'm expecting from Mr. Excellency the President.
There are legal instruments that could back the security agencies to pick up these two visitors, if I can call them that. Have you sought to bring that to their attention yet?
Of course, it's one of the avenues that I'm looking at in the event that within some few days or weeks and the AG refuses to do anything about it. Then,
did you say the AG refuses to do anything about it?
Yes, of course. I mean, per Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution, it is the duty of the Attorney General to be able to prosecute people who are seen to have done anything that affects the state in terms of criminality. And so, I mean, if he refuses to do so, we will take it as if he's forgotten about it or he has a lot of things to deal with. We will remind the AG by way of a letter or petition to make sure that these people are dealt with. You cannot blame the MPP for this. I say so because there were illegal issues, as you rightly said. However, even in the event that anybody would want to blame the New Patriotic Party, it is on that basis that we were voted out of government. I've already maintained that I am a Catholic. If you check my stance on LGBTQ when we were in government, even at the time that I appeared before the vetting committee as a deputy minister designate, I had my strong stance on it, that it cannot be allowed to fester in this our country. However, at the time, remember, it was not topical as we are finding it at the latter part of the MPP's government and even now. But it's becoming very clear that it is something that we have to deal with. The people of Ghana voted against the MPP because of the fact that maybe per your own assertions or allegations,
Away from that, residents along Ghana's coastal communities are worried about loss of property if sea level rises. Now, this follows a warning by the Ghana Meteorological Agency asking them to avoid the beaches and open waters this weekend as sea conditions are expected to become extremely dangerous. GMET says wave heights could surge up to 2.8 meters, far exceeding the safe limit of 1.5 meters and crossing the 2.5 meter mark, classified as hazardous for marine activity. Our correspondent Ivy Sechaji has been on the ground providing us with updates as to what exactly is happening. Ivy, take us away.
actually scared after hearing this early this morning. They are saying that they hope that things does not escalate, because mostly it starts in the late afternoons when they see the high tides and they start running for their dear lives. So they are hoping that today nothing of that sort happens. But some of them are also preparing to leave for their the homes of their friends and family to avoid any disaster. Some of them said they will wait, especially the men, they will wait and see how it unfolds. So yes, the residents of these areas in the Ketu South, Anglogat District, and Keta are very worried about this announcement. They are hoping that something is done. They are happy about the construction that is ongoing, according to them, but they still want some urgent attention, especially with this announcement.
Well, local NADMO has issued a fresh statement on this, and coming up on your screens are excerpts of that statement. It reads that the National Disaster Management Organization, KETA, wishes to inform all fisherfolk, canoe and net owners, fishmongers, and residents along the coast that rising sea levels will be recorded in the range of 1.8 to 2.5 meters during this rainy season. This development increases the risk of tidal waves, flooding, and property damage, especially in low-lying coastal areas. Now, they go on to state that they strongly advise that they secure their canoes, nets, and other fishing gear away from the immediate shore. They also advise that they avoid fishing during high tides or when sea conditions are dangerous. They go on to state that they must relocate valuables and fish stock to higher grounds if possible. And then they finalize by stating that they would monitor weather updates and sea levels warnings regularly. Now, they go on to state that they'll call on the chief fishermen, media houses, information centers, and all community leaders to help disseminate this vital information to ensure everyone's safety. Well, let's go to the community now and speak to an environmental safety advocate, Joel Degu. We appreciate your time joining us live from Keta. In the communities that the NADMO have warned us that they're most likely to see rising sea levels. Based on your checks, are residents even aware of this information from GMET? You may have to unmute for me to hear you clearly. Mr. Joel, do I have your attention?
Madam, I can hear you now.
I'm glad I have your attention. You're on the grounds, and so I just wanted to find out, based on your interaction with residents, are they even aware of this information from GMET?
Yes, good afternoon to your listeners. Yes, they are really aware of the information released by GMET over this issue of the high tide today, tomorrow, and the day following. Yeah, the NADMO office in Keta municipality has released a press statement to the media outlets within the municipality for the information to be relayed through the chief fishermen and to the coastal dwellers, especially the fisher folks.
And how responsive are the residents to warnings that they may need to evacuate valuables from the area?
Yes, since the press release this morning, I think some have already gone to sea. Since yesterday, they went to leave their nets in the sea and came on shore and needed to go and gather them. So most of them have gone to sea early in the day and have returned and have gotten the information that it is not advisable for them to go today, tomorrow to to the sea again.
But as an environmental safety advocate, how best you feel that we can tackle this head on?
Yes, these are natural occurrences. So I think the best thing is to let this information reach the community early enough through the early warning system. Number two is to have community liaison officers. And this one is being done through the chief fisherman. But I believe through the community centers, information centers too, the information have been released. And I think it's early enough to forestall every misfortune, every risk of going to sea from tomorrow to the next day.
Your time here on the Pulse. Away from that to other stories, let me take you now to the northeast region, Waliwali to be precise, where tensions are escalating as youth groups protest a curfew they label as politically motivated. Residents argue the restrictions imposed without consultation are crippling the economy and violating their rights. They want President John Dramani Mahama to remove Ibrahim Tia as minister for his refusal to lift the curfew despite appeals from the Mampungu Lord.
It's not saving us at all. It's not helping us because we are there because of the people. And you yourself, you know there's nothing going like fight here. Nothing, no one is fighting here. So you can talk to your boss. And you know you are not fighting here. So why you are right to tell the president the truth? Because of the people you are in the ministry, you are minister. I support everything they say about the minister. I support it 100%. And because we Waliwali peoples, we don't want violence. We just want the country to be peace, so that everybody will be doing his work. That's why we just keep quiet. But if they wanted to push us too much, we won't agree. Because we are not fighting here. So why all these things? So we'll come out and do demonstration. Everyone will see that. They think now we don't have anybody. That's why they wanted to do that. What the president is doing, I don't think is good.
Meanwhile, the municipal chief executive for Waliwali, Mohammed Rabiu, insists on review rather than a complete withdrawal.
It should be reviewed. Our proposal it should be reviewed, not taken up completely, but reviewed, because since the imposition of it has been reviewed up to a stage. Right. So I'll ask that it is reviewed again as we continue to observe, so that we don't have to abruptly take it out. We should review it again as we continue to review. Maybe the time in the evening would go up, and then the early mornings will also come down, so that at that point we are still aware that the curfew is there, but you can see and notice that eventually at that point in time you notice that everybody would have learned the sense of the curfew, the reason why the curfew was imposed. Everybody is now fine-tuning. We are fine-tuning our minds to the imposition of the curfew, and it's no longer a challenge as it used to be. But if it continues to be there and then we do not even feel it, why don't we take it off? But I still think that if we get the opportunity, let's review it again and see, and finally before it is taken off. But I will not say that outright that we should take the curfew off right now, but let's review it again.
You're still watching The Pulse. When we return, we'll bring you an exciting conversation. I'm sure you're expecting the Impact Makers Award ceremony, which is coming up tomorrow. We have highlights of that for you when we come back from this week. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Well, the 2025 Joy News Impact Makers Award is here. Tomorrow at the EcoBank headquarters, 10 remarkable individuals who have made extraordinary contributions to their communities will be honored. Well, these heroes and heroines have gone above and beyond, changing lives and inspiring hope through their selfless efforts. We spotlight the exceptional projects led by our 10 finalists, each one a powerful story of impact, innovation, and unwavering dedication to making their communities better. Let's listen to some of them. We'll be back to have a conversation on that here on The Pulse.
We are a patient organization, and the fundraising foundation partner for the pediatric oncology unit of Kolibu Teaching Hospital. We raise funds for the treatment and care of children with cancer in Ghana.
Every child deserves an education. Like Nelson Mandela said, the best gift you can give to a child is to give the child education. So you don't want any child to be roaming on the street, not going to school. So that is why I decided to set up a charity school so that nothing will be an obstacle for this child.
At Photo for Change, our powerful social visual storytelling for the Deaf Project initiatives by providing camera and accessories to empower deaf students through photography and video storytelling, giving them a creative voice and a platform to express themselves, particularly in the context of education.
We target children with special needs, and after 2018 we realized that these children are in poor communities. So from 2018 our focus has been in poor communities where we provide them with food, water and other amenities.
Since 2013 I have dedicated myself to transform education in a community once marked by conflict, resource scarcity and teacher shortage. Despite no electricity, poor healthcare access, and shared resources with cattle, my perseverance has turned challenges into opportunities.
A youth-led non-governmental organization working in the areas of water, sanitation, and hygiene in schools and communities. Ensuring that women, children, persons living with disability have access to clean, potable water in schools.
By profession and also the head teacher at Domangui DA Primary School. I am a social entrepreneur. I work with rural women in shea butter processing, and then this idea came up after I realized most of the women in my community do not make ends meet and therefore ends up cutting the tree. In order to expand the impact, I founded Podukwe Touch Life, which is an NGO where the profit we get from the social enterprise, which is the sales of the shea butter, goes in doing community activities, supporting students, helping girls with sanitary pad, and also organizing skills training for young people, just so they can have something to do and not loiter in the community.
We invest in our human resources by serving underserved children or poor kids and poor communities by giving them hope through the numerous activities that we engage them with. And my motivation is, when I was in the US Army, I've traveled around the world, and everybody that you talk to out there, even the soldiers, they are proud for serving their communities, their country and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, if that is the case, then I need to come back and serve my community, because at the end of the day, if you are not proud about where you're from, then you are not giving back to your country or your community.
I do 4 major projects on education. The first one is orphans, and the second one is girl child, followed by my intervention in the new curriculum when it was introduced by NACA.
Well, joining me in the studio for more is one of last year's top finalists, Andrew Ejeni-Wating, and we'll also be having a special guest as well joining us, just to get a sense of what we should expect. But I'm quite interested in Andrew's work so far. You run Diamonds of Development Foundation. So far, since winning the award, how has it been?
Thank you very much. And let me use this opportunity to greet our cherished viewers and listeners of Joy News, and to my people from the Bono region and my district, Jama North, Sampa being my district capital. I greet all of them. And last year I was on this platform. We are all going to Mount tomorrow. It was a very beautiful opportunity, a very beautiful platform that gave us a lot of exposure. It really increased our visibility after living and receiving the awards. So when we got back to our various regions, the story had changed, the credibility, more values have been added to whatever that we've been doing. Attentions were given more than it used to be. So this is one of the biggest platforms. I think each and everyone making an impact in any of the sectors has to aspire to be here, or may have to aspire to be here. And after that, the story will change, the narrative will change. they may increase whatever they are doing. They may do more projects than before. When I came here and going back to Bono region, and for that matter, Sampa being my district capital, I saw a lot of differences. I saw a lot of changes in whatever that I was doing.
I'm quite interested in these changes. What new projects have you embarked on, and how easy has it been for you now that you have the visibility?
Yes, I was nominated for ICT in education. That is a project, my principal project I'm working on. And for the past 4 years, I've been able to raise almost 1.3 million Ghana cedis with my team.
Wow.
Yes, to build an ultra-modern ICT training center for my community.
1.3 million?
Yes, which is 1.3 billion or 13 billion currency.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And these initiatives, you are focusing on education and ICT. I know that last year you highlighted some of the work you were doing, how you were building community libraries to build, to help bridge that digital gap. Tell me more about that project and how it's faring so far.
Yeah, so now the project has gotten to the tiling level. We are 90% done or 95% done, hoping to complete it this year, and next year commission it for the people in Sampa to have access to an ICT training center for the first time in history.
And that's the project on the screen?
Yeah, this is a new one. We have started after the awards.
Okay.
This is a fashion center we are building for the hairdressers and then the beauticians, the tailors, the seamstress in the community. You see, most of these young ladies after graduation from service, 90% to 95% of them are not able to start up their own businesses or hairdressing salons and then tailoring shops. So we saw it necessary. We collaborated with the Ghana National Hairdressers and Beauticians Association, GABA, and also Ghana National Tailors and Dressmakers Association, GNTD, at the community level, regional level, and then the district level, to build a fashion hub for them so that when they graduate, majority of them who will not be able to get access to workspaces, industrial machines, we are going to stock this facility with industrial machines, and then we employ them. They work, we save for them. Within a period of 6 months or maximum 1 year with us, they should be able to save enough money to be able to establish or fund their own business. Then they go, and this cycle will repeat itself from time to time. So that is a way we want to create jobs for these young ladies and young men who are in that sector, because there's a lot of unemployment at that place. But somebody had gone to learn vocational training. Under normal circumstances, that person shouldn't come and stay home and rest. We should get them a place to work.
Well, let's talk figures. I'm quite interested in figures. How much does it cost to put up a structure like that?
Buildings are really capital intensive and financially excruciating. So this project we have started, we are counting around 35,000-40,000 as I speak.
Okay.
So in projections, as in figures you are talking about, by the time we finish, we're going to be spending around almost 2 million Ghana cedis.
To raise the structure and furnish it?
Furnish it, yeah, it will.
Okay. Stay with me. Let me bring in another guest, join me in the studio. Portia Dumba, we appreciate your time. You came all the way from the northern region, I'm told. Welcome. You're one of the finalists for tomorrow's event. Wait, let's start with how you feel.
I feel excited and I feel honored because sometimes it's like something you are not expecting. Like you feel like there's something you need to do to support the community, and it's like it's being spotlighted and you are going to be appreciated or awarded for it. It feels good. So I'm really excited.
And what category have you been nominated for?
Under education.
Education seems to be the catch nowadays. What specific project are you doing in your community that earned you this recognition?
I'm a teacher by profession, I'm a professional teacher. and then also the head teacher for Domangui DA Primary School. And then I think when I was posted to the school, there was no teacher, so I was alone. And then I had to raise three, it was 3 classroom blocks, and then there were 6 different grades. So I had to, from P1 to P6, I had to put P1 and P2 in one class, 3 and 4 in one class, 5 and 6 in one class. And then the issue too is that, like, I am a junior high school, I have my degree and stuff in junior high, and I was posted in a primary school. So meaning it's going to be a challenge, so I had to do a lot of research, go to other teachers, because there was nobody to receive me. And then because it's very deprived, there's no light, there's no network, usually most people don't agree to stay there because everybody wants to enjoy the social amenities and all. And then the question I asked myself, everybody's leaving, and if I also leave, what happens to them? They're all part of the future leaders in Ghana. So that was what made me to stay. And then with staying, I've been able to partner with other organizations where free uniforms have been donated to the students, and some of them got the opportunity to wear uniform for the very first time. And then when I got there, two people were not coming to school. I had to do advocacy, go to the community, tell them it's important to allow them to come to school, especially the young girls. Most of them feel that when they go to school, they just come and marry and be here. So what's the point? Then I have to say, okay, see me, I'm a girl, I've gone to school, I'm here. And so through that advocacy, most of them started allowing their kids to come to school. And then, yeah, there's a lot of projects we've been able to. So I was able to partner with No Limit Charity organization. They came and donated uniforms for all my students. That was last 2 years. And then also we've been able to work with 360 Ghana, where the community, like I said, there's no social amenity. So when it's in the night, women are not able to go about the economic activities. Students cannot study unless they use lantern, and sometimes they have to battle with their parents. But they also want to use to cook, we want to do your homework and all of that. And now each household has a solar lamp, which supports not only the kids to be able to study even after school, but the women and other, they are able to go about their economic activities even in the night. Yeah, and like I said, we have 3 classrooms where 1 and 2 is in one class, 3 and 4. And as I speak, I have an NGO which is registered. I also have a business that I work with their parents in share butter production, because I believe once their parents are empowered economically, they'll be able to take care of their kids.
So you employ some of them?
Yes, please. I work with their parents as well. And aside that, we add value to some of the share butter. We have different packages, and we also try to connect them to the market, because they are limited. Imagine somebody in Accra wanting share butter, and the woman in a village where no light, no network. How do you connect? So that was the gap that I saw, and not that there wasn't market for the share. And so I felt, okay, fine. I have access to media. I can help bridge that gap. Then I came, and I also got to realize it had to do with capacity building training. We build their capacity, because I know once they are empowered indirectly, they will support their kids with books, because at some point I was using my salary to buy books and pens, and I know that it's not sustainable. When I leave, it's not going to work. So what if we do something that even in my absence, at least it will still continue? So that was what happened. And even as we speak, I'm partnering with, my organization is partnering with an international organization, Sisters Keepers, to build a 3 classroom block in the community, so that each class, so class 1 will get a class, class 2 will get a class, 3 will get a class, and then like that. So that
and on the screens, those are some of your products, even before coming to the classroom. And that's your classroom?
Yes, please.
They don't have furnitures?
No. so the whole school...
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, so the school, as we speak, we have just 15 dual decks. And with a project that is currently ongoing, we are working on 60 dual decks, and hopefully by next month, it will be ready, and all these kids, they wouldn't have to combine. These people you are seeing, we have Basic 1 and Basic 2 that are combined.
All lumped up in one class?
Yes, in one class.
How do you even teach them, really?
You have to find people, and there are some, so this is a project that is currently ongoing. Now we've upgraded. Now the building is up. They are here to do the plastering, and then they will bring the dual decks, and then the kids will get classes too. It's difficult, right? But then I think sometimes when you have passion, you look beyond the challenges that you are facing, because there's joy in seeing that the little you do brings smile in somebody's face and all of that. So, and the fact that I remember the very first time I got to school, I think a Basic 4 student, I wrote 2, and I wrote S, and the person said 2. And right now I go to school, and even before I get there, they have their books and they're all reading. And it fills me with excitement, because I remember 2 years back, this was my student, and now with a little effort. So, I said I was alone at that time. So for the very first day, you have to resume as whether guidance and counseling, head teacher, and all of that. So when we have meetings, usually I look for a volunteer in the community. Sometimes I give some stipends to let the person take
from your pocket.
Yes, let the person take care of their kids whilst I go, because I struggle in making sure they come. So I don't want to be away and then they'll come to school, no teacher, and then they'll go back home and not come again. So I try to make sure that even in my absence, they are engaged. And so we do that, and now they are happy they come to school. And then I think we implemented a project where every Friday we cook. So even if you not come to school, by Friday at least you get food to eat in the school.
Wow.
And we get volunteers from the communities who do come and support. And yeah, this and more is what
You're doing great in your community. Let me just come to Hygiene before we wrap up the conversation. And you can share your thoughts with us on all our social media handles. This is great work you're doing on the ground, and we're proud to be associated with it. That's why we brought the Impact Makers Award to award individuals like this who are making a change in their communities. Before I let you go, finally, just tell me what's next on your plate and what we should expect from you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and let me also congratulate Portia and welcome her on board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jima has become a big family, and we have come to stay. Ghanaians should watch. We are really going to transform the narrative, prove to the people in Ghana that the youth has what it takes to contribute to socio-economic development. We aren't going to be insulting leadership, blaming game, shifting responsibilities, who has to do that and who didn't do this. But we are going to take that responsibility upon ourselves and then prove to the whole world that, yes, the youth has the financial capacity, the intellectual capacity to do or contribute to socio-economic development. And I also congratulate all the Jima Network 2023 batch, 2024 for the amazing work they are doing. Some of us have gotten the opportunity to be nominated for this year's Nelson Mandela's Fellowship.
Really?
Yes.
You've been nominated?
Mawuja is gone.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is a very big platform. And who knows, maybe it was because of the exposure Joy gave us.
We are joy.
Added more value.
We are indeed joy. When we give you the exposure,
platform.
what do you expect?
And Ghanaians should expect we're going to do more. All we need is their collaboration, their cooperation, their partnership, the trust that we want them to repose in us. And then thank you, Joy, for giving us this exposure. This is 1 in a million. And we also ask for more. If you can do beyond the publicity, we want you to link us to, partners, donors, agencies, government agencies, foreign agencies, for more collaboration, so that this award scheme will become one of the biggest in the country. And not just like you come and receive the award, go back and be still struggling and suffering for partnership and resources to build or to give back to a community.
Yeah, but we have a listening ear, and I'm sure MFA Ellie is listening closely. She's working actively on this project with you, and I'm sure next year awardees would come with juicy packages. But just before I let Portia go, Portia, what are your expectations? You would be awarded tomorrow. I'm sure you're excited, but your expectations and what projects you'll be looking at implementing post this award?
So I'm really excited, like you said. And there's a lot that we're going to work on. And aside that, I think aside the school and working with the women, I have young girls that I mentor and all of that. And then I talked about the partnership we had with Sisters Keepers. And I'm going to make sure that it doesn't just end at the project, because they have a program where it's called the Big Girl Program, Black Girls in the Lead, where young girls are empowered to identify social problems in the community, find their own innovative way of solving these problems. And I think last year we partnered with them, where I was able to come to Accra with 13 girls from the village, and some of them even received the award and all of that. So I think this platform is going to kind of expose us, give us the exposure to get more, because I know there are people who want to really partner to make more impact than what we're doing. So imagine one person doing this and then you get 2 or 3 partners. Just imagine the impact that you are going to make. So I'm really excited, and I expect that, so these are some of the mentees.
Oh, so these are some of the girls, right?
So yeah, I mentor them, and also we also do skills training for them, because there are some of them sometimes you have to support with sanitary pad and all. And like I said, I always look at the sustainability. So we try to empower them. Some will say soap, beading, and then we try to train them. So this badge, they were trained, I think, last month. So what I do is I will put them in groups. I'll get a startup materials for them. They will start selling. And then once they do the beading themselves and they're able to get something for themselves, they wouldn't be able to come to me to say, if they come, obviously I'll give them. But then what if I'm not there? But even if I'm not there, this will sustain them. So like I said, we are looking to do a lot aside this, because I know this is a big platform. We are going to be exposed. We get more partners, get more individuals who are even interested and willing to support to make impact. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Portia, for coming in the studio, as well as Hygiene. And that's how we wrap up the Pulse. It's coming up tomorrow. You need to watch the Joy News channel if you haven't been invited to be there in person. But it's going to be an awesome time. And trust us, on Monday, all our shows will bring all the awardees to have a conversation with them. My name is Faustina Saf. I appreciate your time and company. See you next week.